Hello Storytellers, if we haven't met yet, my name is Madii. I am a full-time editor and fantasy writer, and today we are talking about 5 short writing challenges that you can do. You can either do these by yourselves or by themselves, or you can do them on a much larger scale, like as part of Nano or as part of a group, and I think that that is incredibly exciting. I know that in NaNoWriMo season, where we currently are now, there are so many people who are really pushing for that 50,000. A lot of people get really excited for it, but Nano isn't the only writing challenge, and it's not the only time to do writing challenges. I think these are things that are incredibly fun anytime you're in a writing lull, or maybe even if you're just, over-inspired and you want to get some words out. So this is probably going to be a little bit quicker of a video because there's only 5 that I have to share today. Some of them have, a lot of variation to them, but here are some writing challenges that you can do either to get yourself through NaNoWriMo or to participate if you're unable to do the official NaNoWriMo challenge. Not everybody has the time, energy, or ability to write 50,000 words in November, and I think it's incredibly important to still be part of the community if you're an active writer or if you just enjoy writing as a hobby regularly. Mostly because I think it is incredibly important to continue to push yourselves as writers, whether you are just wanting to write more or find new fun and ways to challenge yourself. Never stop learning and never stop pushing yourselves, and don't let NaNoWriMo be the only time you do a fun writing challenge. Thing number 1 is a short story in a day or a weekend. And I know not everyone writes short stories, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a short story. This is one of those ones that has a lot of variations. If you use a writing RPG like For the Words, they have a challenge there that's called Short Story in a Day, and it's 5,000 words. So you could do 5,000 words in a day, 5,000 words in a weekend. That is a pretty hefty goal, but if you're doing these challenges sporadically, then it's not going to be as overwhelming as something like NaNoWriMo that's all month long. You might have a really stressful day or two, but then after that you'll have some time to rest and recuperate or to brainstorm. You can do, a writing prompt, you can do 2,000 words, you can do a certain section or segment of your book. For example, if you really want to finish this one chapter that you have just been putting off, maybe your writing challenge is to finish that chapter in a day, and you give yourself a fun little goal to do it there. It can be a day, it could be 3 days, it could be a weekend. I love doing stuff like this for writing challenges online. So when we did the Cookie Wars, a 2-day writing challenge where we had lots of productivity sprints, and it gave me the opportunity to sort of free write, and I was just talking about that a week or two ago, how important I think it is to have free write days. So I was free writing and I was giving myself tasks, but while I was free writing, one of my rules, and that's something that I went over in that video, that I think if you do free write days you should give yourself some rules or some guidance. One of my rules was to complete a certain number of words. So that was just a fun little I want to spend some time writing, but I don't have the time to commit to a larger project right now kind of thing. Thing number 2 has paid and free versions, and that is to take some sort of writing class or workshop. If you want to spend some money on it, there are platforms like Masterclass, which is a little bit more expensive, or Skillshare, which I know that there are a lot of ways to do free trials. So if you haven't done a free trial already, you could do a free trial of Skillshare. I think it's 2 weeks long normally. There might be some around that are a month. I'm not quite sure. But it is, I want to say, under $20 a month if you do sign up for the subscription. But those programs like Masterclass and Skillshare will give you tasks to complete. So whoever you are learning from, your instructor, your professor, whoever they are, they're going to talk about something, and then they're going to say, okay, here's a good exercise to practice writing. I think this is a great writing challenge to do. Completing somebody's masterclass, looking at how much you have to write, and giving yourself a time frame. Almost like you're taking a class at school, but a little bit more casually. There are a lot of companies like the EFA, or I can't think of another one right now, the Editorial Freelance Association. They offer a lot of writing classes. I know libraries do them sometimes, and there might even be professionals in writing circles or writing groups who might offer some classes or coaching just on a whim. So keep your eyes open for things like that if it's something that you're interested in. But there's definitely paid and free ways to go about doing that. But I think it's almost more difficult but more fun because you have somebody else sort of holding you accountable to doing it, but at the same time it can be more difficult because the prompts aren't things that you organize yourself. For example, I took a master class, and one of the assignments was to brainstorm this certain story point, 10 different variations of what would happen at this point in the story, and then the next assignment was okay, take one of the things off of your 10 list and write this kind of scene with it, or mix things from one list to another. So it was definitely challenging because I want to say I wasn't in the mood to write. I'm sometimes a mood writer. I wasn't in the mood to write those things, but that was the point of really doing it, was to force myself to think about things a little bit differently and be a little bit more creative. So I definitely think it was incredibly useful. The next one is writing contest submissions. Now, this one is incredibly fun, and I know that it doesn't really fit everyone's sort of form of writing. For example, they don't really have novel contests. I'm probably lying there, but it's not a short challenge, I guess, if it's a novel contest. So if you're looking at the short form of a writing contest submission, you're looking at like short stories, flash fiction, poetry, things like that. I think that those are incredible short-term writing challenges. You can get them from like websites or magazines. Sometimes libraries do them, sometimes publishing houses do them. I know Readsy normally has a lot listed, and even if you just Google like writing contests now, and the reason why these are so fun is because they have them in every single like genre. So if you write historical fiction, if you write, contemporary romance, you can find things always going on in those genres. Readsy alone, I feel like, has something in every genre, and I'm pretty sure it's Readsy. They used to have this, and I think they still do, but one of their writing contests, you pick one of like 5 prompts. Like they give you a task or a goal, and then whenever like the time starts, they give you 5 prompts to choose from, and you have to do the writing submission on one of those 5 prompts and submit it in by the end of the time. And that is why it is a short writing challenge, because they don't usually post the information for like the topic or the submission very far in advance. Sometimes it's a couple months in advance if you're doing like a publishing house, and sometimes for Readsy it is just a week in advance, or some places might have a couple weeks. But this is particularly fun because you get a chance to get published or win something. Sometimes, most of the time. Even if you submit and it's for like a smaller company, they'll do like gift cards or vouchers, or they'll put your work on their website. That's a great thing to add to a portfolio. So I think it's something that everyone should try once. I feel like I say that about a lot of things, but I do think that everybody should try a lot of things at least once. The only thing you really have to lose is some of them have a submission fee, but they can be as low as like $2 or $5. So if you're looking for a fun writing challenge to do, and you don't want to take like a master class, or you don't want to join something at your library that you have to pay for, it's an easy $2. Find something cheap online that you can do a writing submission for, and it also gives you like a goal and a task. There's no dilly-dallying. You can't over edit, you can't like stare at it super long. I'm sure you probably could over edit in a week, but the point is you only have a week to do that, and then you have to like walk away from it. So instead of doing a writing challenge where you're writing something and it sits on your shelf, you might as well send it in and get a review from somebody. And if you do this more than one time, and one of your stories gets selected to either move on to another stage, or even gets selected as like a winner or to be published, that gives you feedback on like that story versus some of your other stories, and you can really use that as a way to get some feedback even if they're not communicating with you. But also it's just a lot of fun. I kind of want to find a circle of writing friends who might want to do something like this together. I'll pick the same like company or the same type of rating goal. A lot of short story ones have like word count goals, like has to be under 5,000 words or has to be under 10,000 words. It would be cool to find something that had the same bounds and just to do it with somebody for fun. It's the same reason why people do NaNoWriMo, because a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork for the community aspect of it. So we can create that community aspect in other places all throughout the year that I think is incredibly fun, or also just on the side. Maybe your NaNoWriMo week is going to be a little bit of a lull and it might be a little bit stressful and you need a little writing pick-me-up. A short-term writing challenge is a great way to do that, even if it's not the contest submission one, just any of the 5 that we're talking about today. The next one, the 4th short writing challenge, is a little bit of a flashback, and that is to start with a title or theme. Now, I've seen this online recommended a lot as start with a title, but it made me think of, there was this thing called the 100 Themes Challenge whenever I was in middle school and high school. It might still be a thing, but it was really big on like DeviantArt, and it was really big in like the poetry world back then, where it was like a list of 100 like one-word themes, and you had to either, draw a picture, write a poem, whatever your art form was, based off of that one word. So one word might even just be clouds, one might be confusion, so they can be as vague or as detailed as you want. But when I seen this start with a title, that was the first thing that I thought of. I think that it could be a lot of fun to, create a really dramatic title. Sometimes while I'm writing, I just come up with things that would be really dramatic titles for stories or books, even if they're not applicable to my own. We're all creative, so we sort of have that. And if you do that as well, then next time you think about a cool title, maybe write it down and save it for a day where you need a writing challenge, and you can write a prompt or a section of your story or for fun off of that title, or you can create a list of themes. I like the idea of doing like titles or themes, but then also like blind drawing them from like a bowl, like writing them each on a scrap of paper and blind drawing them, or even like writing them with numbers and rolling a die, just so it's like an extra little bit more difficult. I also kind of like the idea of mixing themes. Like, what if you had one bowl for titles and one bowl for like themes or tones? What if your title was super dramatic and edgy and like dark, but then like the theme was like love and cuddling or something funny? I just think that that would be a fun way to really push yourself creatively, and that's what writing challenges are for. They're both to encourage you to write more and to help you think differently, but also to really just push yourself. That's why it's a challenge. Short writing challenge number 5, and I think I might even like this one more than the last one, so I saved it for the end, is to go to a public place, a high traffic place like a park or, you know, a Starbucks or a cafe or wherever you like to write, and write about a person you see there. Now, you can go with like a little notepad and take your notes and then go home and write, or you can just, you know, sit there to write, pick somebody that you see and write about them in the moment. Of course, don't cross any weird lines here, you know, don't give anybody the heebie-jeebies. I'd like to say just observe, but, you know, maybe they're friendly and maybe they talk to you. But the idea of taking a person that you don't know and trying to write their tone, their attitude, you know, their cadence of voice in writing, I think can be incredibly challenging and sometimes just fun. You can take a person that you see in public and try to think about what their character would be like if it was in your world for your story. You can take a character you see in public and try to imagine what their life might actually be like. And I think that's one of the things that makes this so interesting to me, because you can really do or write whatever you want with that person. I think writing characters in different places is a great way to really exercise your creative muscles. I also think like writing stories with different like genres or tones is a great way to exercise your creative muscles. And I think trying to capture somebody's like first impression, because when we see somebody, we always have unconscious bias in our head. We always have assumptions and we always have impressions of who they are or how they think based on just how they carry themselves. So being able to look at somebody and write them in a story in a way that somebody else will be able to really see and appreciate the way that you captured their first impression, I think that could be like an impressive and sometimes challenging skill. I feel like we have all met somebody before where their first impression is really starkly different than what their personality is actually like, so it can be a little bit humorous, you know. Maybe if you're sitting in a coffee shop to write and the person you picked is sitting there alone, maybe their entire mood or aura or tone changes whenever their friend gets there to meet them, and it might derail your writing plans, but I think that almost just makes it more exciting. Like those cooking challenges where like halfway through they throw in a plot twist. It's like that for writing. But yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun. But if you're gonna try any of these, make sure you know, post it on your social media and tag me in it. I want to know how it goes. Let us know in the comments if any of these were super interesting to you. And as always, please let us know in the comments if you have any other recommendations for short writing challenges. I think that the best part of like YouTube and writing resources as a whole is being able to share information with other writers and like connect like that. So, you know, these are just 5 short writing challenges, but there might be hundreds. So if you have any that you think would be particularly fun that somebody might want to do, leave them in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe while you're down there. I post writing related videos twice a week. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.